Europa Park is one of the greatest theme parks in the whole world, and this huge and amazing theme park is located southwest in Germany near the city called Rust. Europa Park is quite an amazing place. It features world-class attractions with world-class theming and accommodation. And Europa Park is home to 14 different roller coasters, and today I've decided to rank them all. And in terms of rankings, I can give these roller coasters a score between F being the worst grade to S being the best grade. So now let's dive into the video. So now coming in as the first roller coaster, we got Voltron Nevera. And Voltron Nevera was actually the new for 2024 roller coaster at this theme park. And this is actually where the park owners called Magrise built their brand new coaster model called the Striker Coaster. And Voltron Nevera might be one of the most ambitious projects in the whole world in terms of roller coasters. First of all, you have an amazing and immersive theming in the queue line and station. And after an amazing pre-show, this roller coaster has a beyond vertical launch to start this ride experience. And overall, Voltron just features a very aggressive and fast-paced roller coaster layout. And during the whole ride layout, you experience a great mix between positive and negative G-forces. And Voltron Nevera overall just features many aggressive airtime moments, whippy inversions, hang time fill inversions, and special track elements such as a turntable, backwards launch, rolling launch, and so on. And that's why I'm gonna give this roller coaster the first S tier. From the immersive theming to the crazy ride experience, Voltron Nevera really has it all. And now the next roller coaster we have is Alpenexpress. And now we're going from one of the biggest roller coasters to the smallest roller coaster at Europa Park. And Alpenexpress is located in the kids section of Europa Park, and that's themed to Ireland. And this art engineering coaster must be one of the smallest in the world. In terms of ride experience, you get a tire propelled lift hill, you have a very short and very shallow drop, and then a turn into the station. And because of the short layout, you get 3 laps total. So I'm gonna give Alpenexpress an E tier. This is a very small kiddie coaster, but the ride experience is smooth and you have a lot of theming to look at. And there's also a goat saying bah. And now coming in as the next roller coaster, we got Wodan Timber Coaster. And Wodan Timber Coaster is of course the signature wooden roller coaster at Europa Park. And this wooden coaster is created by GCI, who's known for creating amazing layouts. And Wodan Timber Coaster is really no exception. This roller coaster starts out with a great first drop. And Wodan Timber Coaster overall just has a very fast-paced layout until the end. And Wodan Timber Coaster mainly stays low to the ground, flying over and under pathways at Europa Park. And during the whole layout, you experience many floater airtime hills combined with sharp twists and turns. And Wodan Timber Coaster is getting a high A tier from me. This Woody is really a high tier GCI roller coaster with a very fast-paced layout until the end. I would recommend sitting in the front row for this roller coaster. Now coming in as the next roller coaster, we got Atlantica SuperSplash. And this is the first water coaster on the list created by Magrise themselves. And overall, this water coaster is quite simple. And this huge boat goes up this lift hill, then it turns, goes backwards into a drop, and then it turns yet again. And then you fly down the large drop and into a small airtime hill, and then you hit the very soaking splashdown. And the main thing about these water coasters is of course the anticipation before the splashdown. Atlantica SuperSplash is getting the D tier. This water coaster is quite short, it doesn't really do much, but you have a cool backwards section with a small drop before going down the large drop. And now coming in as the next roller coaster, we got Silver Star. And Silver Star is by far the tallest and fastest roller coaster at Europa Park. And this is where the Mag family actually called B&M to create a great hypercoaster. And to this day, Silver Star still stands as the tallest roller coaster in Germany. But now let's discuss the ride experience on this one. Silver Star features a decent drop over the highway, and then you have these iconic camelback hills with a lot of floater airtime. All of these camelbacks on Silver Star still delivers great airtime, but there are many better hypercoasters out there. But Silver Star actually has one of the best second halves on any hypercoaster. The riders fly into an upwards turn, and at the crest you have a very sharp airtime moment. And after yet another small and sharp camelback hill, the ride goes into these very fast-paced S-turns. So Silver Star is getting a high A tier from me. Silver Star is overall a great hypercoaster with an amazing second half, but the airtime hills in the start aren't really that crazy. And now coming in as the next coaster, we got Schweizer Bobbahn. And there are actually a few Schweizer Bobbahn coasters out there, but this is a Magrise bobsled coaster. And unfortunately, Schweizer Bobbahn at Europa Park might be the most dull one of them all. And the ride experience overall isn't really that intense. You have some shallow drops and then you have some sharp twists and turns. The 2 helixes in the end with the S-turn is by far the best moment on Schweizer Bobbahn. Luckily for Schweizer Bobbahn, this roller coaster is located in the Switzerland section, which is very beautiful to look at. And I'm actually gonna give Schweizer Bobbahn a low D tier. Schweizer Bobbahn was actually the prototype bobsled coaster, but unfortunately this ride layout is quite short, it isn't really that intense, and the ride experience is quite bumpy also. But it's still a unique family attraction in my opinion. And now coming in as the next roller coaster, we got Blue Fire. And Blue Fire was actually the first major thrill roller coaster at Europa Park. And surprise, surprise, this launch coaster was actually created by Magrise themselves. Blue Fire actually starts out with a decently forceful launch. Blue Fire actually takes the riders from 0 to 100 km per hour in 2.5 seconds. Blue Fire overall features a very lengthy looping coaster layer with a very tall vertical loop, and then you have these awesome twisted horseshoe rolls. And these two inversions feels more floaty than whippy. And in the front row you can actually feel a few floater pops on these small drops. And I'm actually gonna give Blue Fire a B tier. This coaster is overall a great prototype launch coaster by Mack Rides. There aren't really many crazy moments on Blue Fire except the awesome first launch and then this hardline roll in the end that has a lot of whip. And now coming in as the next coaster we got Alpenexpress Enzian. And Alpenexpress is actually a power roller coaster by Mack Rides. This coaster is located in the Austria section that unfortunately burned down, but now they have reopened with new theming. And given that Alpenexpress is a powered family roller coaster, the ride layout isn't even that crazy. But the surroundings of this powered roller coaster really is amazing. Flying over and under the immersive theming in Austria just adds to the experience. I'm gonna give this coaster a D tier. Overall, you can't really expect anything in terms of ride experience on these powered coasters, but the heavily themed Austria section really carries this ride experience, so that's why it's a D tier. Now coming in as the next roller coaster we got Eurosat CanCan coaster. Eurosat CanCan coaster is overall a heavily themed indoor roller coaster. This is a very iconic indoor roller coaster and the whole layout is just located inside this huge white globe. First of all, you have a huge spiral lift hill where you go up the Eiffel Tower. Eurosat CanCan coaster overall just features a very smooth and fast-paced coaster layout, and this is where the riders dodge in and over iconic landmarks in Paris. And this is yet again a family roller coaster, so the pure layout is not that crazy. I'm gonna give Eurosat CanCan coaster a C tier. Overall, you have a decent indoor family roller coaster that is covered in theming elements that gives this sensation of speed. Now coming in as the next roller coaster we got Pegasus, and with no surprise here we have the so-called Young Star coaster model by Mack Rides. And surprisingly, this is actually a decently forceful family roller coaster. This family coaster features a great first drop that gives airtime in the back row, and after that you have a decent and lengthy family coaster layout with sharp twists and turns. So that's why I'm gonna give Pegasus a D tier. And overall, Pegasus is just a family roller coaster with a few surprising elements, but this small family coaster has little to no theming. Now coming in as the next roller coaster we got Matterhorn Blitz, and Matterhorn Blitz is actually a heavily themed Mack Rides Wild Mouse coaster. Matterhorn Blitz might be one of the best Wild Mouse coasters out there. This coaster has a heavily themed queue line and station, and this Wild Mouse actually starts with an elevator lift that is inclined, so it's quite creepy. This coaster actually features a great first drop and many smaller drops, and of course combined with many signature sharp turns. I'm gonna give Matterhorn Blitz a C tier. This coaster is overall just great. It has a high pace, many great drops, sharp turns, and on top of that an awesome and very funny queue line. Now coming in as the next roller coaster we got Poseidon, and Poseidon is actually a water roller coaster made by Mack Rides. Poseidon overall features a heavily themed queue line and an awesome looking station, and in terms of ride experience you get a very lengthy water coaster with 2 total splashdowns. The first coaster section is great with these fast paced twisted first drops into this very cool splashdown, and then in the end you have a large airtime filled drop that goes into this airtime hump and an amazing splashdown. So that's why I'm gonna give Poseidon a B tier. Poseidon overall is just a great intense and lengthy ride experience with a total ride time of almost 5 minutes. And now coming in as the next roller coaster we got Arthur, and this is where we in English will say Arthur, and yes, this is a heavily themed Mack Rides suspended powered coaster. So this is a great mix between indoor roller coaster, outdoor roller coaster and dark ride sections. Arthur really delivers a great and very lengthy family roller coaster layout, and many of these dark ride sections are just immersive and beautiful to look at. This coaster does have some fast paced section, especially the one outside, and that's why I'm gonna give Arthur a B tier. This is by far the best powered coaster in the world. Even though the coaster layout doesn't really deliver any thrills, the whole ride experience is just very immersive and beautiful. And now coming in as the last roller coaster we got Euro-Mir, and Euro-Mir overall is a very old and very bizarre looking Mack Rides spinning coaster, and this coaster is actually themed to the Russian space program. This is where you have a spiral lift hill going up to the top of the rocket, and this is where the iconic soundtrack plays. And after this lift hill the train slowly just drives around where you can look at yourself in the mirrors. Then the coaster train twists 180 degrees and then you go into a very intense and lengthy coaster layout. And this coaster layout is actually quite intense in terms of family coasters. Euro-Mir is actually quite high paced and it also delivers some strong positive G-forces on the final turns. And that's why I'm actually gonna give Euro-Mir a high B tier. This is overall just a classic roller coaster at Europa Park with a very weird and bizarre look, and in the end you just have a very intense layout. And now we've finally gone through the whole list. Now please let me know in the comments what you think of these rankings and the overall video idea. And if you really like the idea, please consider subscribing to my channel, that would be awesome. And then in the end of the day, I'm always gonna say bye bye.